Hello everyone and welcome back to the Artificial DM. Today we're going to be diving into some cringe furry stories. Now, they're not RPG horror stories, however, they are very much furry horror stories. The second one, for those of you who are Neckbeardia fans, you've probably heard before, but it was recorded in their text-to-speech days. The first story comes from Convention Horror Stories over on Tumblr. With that, let's go ahead and get into the first cringe furry stories. You want to what now? Whew boy, this is quite a tale. A bit about me. I'm a semi-popular furry artist on DeviantArt. Not popular to the point where I get people recognizing me on the street and stuff, but popular enough that quite a few people have at least heard of my DeviantArt username. It's pretty cool. I get a lot of commissions, and yeah, it's kind of a drag sometimes. I have to deal with younger kids who have no idea how commissions work, but it's pretty fun. Now, I guess the local furry community was pretty excited that I live in their area, because I got a free badge and a table in the Artist Alley at a local furry convention. I was pretty psyched, because I had been kind of dry for commissions, and I needed some extra cash. So the convention comes. Friday goes by without a hitch. I'm filling up commission slots, getting photos of really cute fursuits, and feeling really good about myself. Saturday starts off well, but then, this whole thing happened. This guy came over to my table, and immediately, he kind of skeeved me out. He wasn't smelly, he seemed to take care of himself well enough, and he was actually kind of handsome. Maybe it was the slightly stained brony shirt he wore, or perhaps it was the disgustingly ratty foxtail and ears he sported. Maybe it was just the way he looked at me. Either way, he gave me the creeps something awful. He came up and started asking about commissions, and I started explaining the prices. He placed a commission for a full body shot of his fursona, and then asked me if I did fetish work. I explained to him my policy on fetish work, that I wasn't going to take the commission at the con, but he could email me later, and that the work wasn't going to appear on DeviantArt or for Affinity, but would be emailed to him. He seemed kind of bummed by this, but took my card and said he'd contact me. Then he asked me if I had plans for dinner. I told him yes, I was going out with my friends after Artist Alley closed, but if he wanted to hang out later, we could. Again, he seemed kind of bummed, but we picked a place to meet up after dinner. At dinner, I told my friends about this guy, and one of them informed me that they knew him. He had introduced himself to her as Scotty at last year's convention, and that he was one of the convention chairpersons. I didn't really know how to respond. She warned me that Scotty was nice, but a little strange sometimes. After dinner, I met up with Scotty back at the convention area and sat around and chatted for a while. Then he asked me to go back to his hotel room with him. I first said no, I'm a bit tired, I'd like to rest here for a bit. He then started begging me. He really wanted me to go back to his room with him. I then flat out told him that I have a boyfriend and that I wasn't going to have sex with him. He kind of laughed and said to me, "Oh, Anon, I wasn't going to have sex with you. I just wanted to shit on your tits." I had no idea how to respond to this, other than just a flat, "What?" "You're such a pretty girl, Anon. I would be honored to shit on you." I just got up and left, still in a state of total shock. I went straight to convention operators and told them about Scotty, and one of the other chairpersons who was there apologized about his behavior, and they said they would have a word with him. I found my friends, and we all went back to my house. I lived like 10 minutes away from the convention, and I was still in total shock. A guy who I had just met a few hours ago just told me that he wanted to shit on me. I literally had no idea if I was just imagining that, or what. The last day of the convention, the chairperson who I had spoken to came back and told me that they had talked to Scotty, but he hadn't shown up today, so they couldn't have him apologize to me. Scotty never sent me that fetish commission, but I can hazard a pretty good guess as to what he wanted. He also never sent payment for his other commission, so it never got done. I later found out that the other chairperson had been forced to step down from their position for one reason or another, leaving Scotty in charge of the entire convention. I got another invitation to be a featured artist at the con. I politely declined. TLDR, a guy comes up to my artist alley table at a furry con, kinda flirts with me, and then says he wants to shit on me. That is some high-level degeneracy. Now by all means, go ahead, go to your conventions, make your art, do whatever. It's cringe, but it's your cringe. Just like I have my own cringe, such as D&D. This guy was so thirsty for his fetish material that he was hoping he would be able to woo the artist into allowing him to let him shit on her? Gosh. There are times where I think we should revoke internet rights from people. I think Scotty needs his internet card removed, just to calm down. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the second story. The Tale of Pelzignacht. The time furries ruined my little sister's high school. I'm breaking with my usual format of no caps and no punctuation, because I bring you a story of horror and ecstasy. This story is relayed to you through the lens of my prose, but the events described come directly from my little sister. Some motivational interpretation is present on my part. This is the tale of Pelzignacht, also known as Spastic Furry Shit Show 2K15. The first thing you ought to know is that this takes place in a high school, a relatively affluent suburban high school. The second thing you ought to know is that the mascot for this high school is a wolf. Due to a caustic combination of too few responsibilities, too much allowance, and absurd levels of moral depravity, there was little chance that fetishistically niche subcultures wouldn't form, and form they did. One in particular, however, is central to our story, the furry clique. There was a tribe of furries in my little sister's high school. They called themselves the Wolf Pack, and they all wore tails hanging from their belt loops every day. Yes, this is a true fact. This is a true fact that happened. I know, calm down. It gets worse. The vast majority of the rest of the school was sane, at least, and they tolerated the depraved troop of degenerates for quite some time with little incident. However, given the opportunity to socially torment a pariah on the basis of shits and giggles, you can be assured a high school boy will eventually take it. An especially volatile male furry got separated from the pack one day at lunch. Sensing the tangy wafts of basement dweller sweat and stale semen on the air, a rambunctious herd of sophomore boys descended upon him, a ravening mass of cruelty. Within instants, the furry was divested of the fluffy treasure which dangled faithfully from the back of his mom jeans, and the ancient secondary educational torture rite of keep away began. From my understanding, this didn't last all that long. Doubtless, this was due to the presence of adults, such as any responsible institution keeps on guard during feeding hours. However, it apparently lasted just too long. Emotions which once had laid dormant in the furry were awakened. Raw rage surged through his veins. He put on his grumpy face and began darkly and magnificently to pout. He had tapped into that bottomless well of righteous umbrage, accessible only by those who garb themselves with the wild's veneers, that vast reserve of unceasing murder violence that comes to the fanatically inclined. He had the furry fury in his blood, and it wasn't going to leave without action. Somehow, by some mechanism which had been left unclear to me, this furry lad made it perfectly clear to the populace that he was going to bring a gun to school the next day and murder the absolute fucking shit out of just like everyone. Yeah, I know. Seems a little extreme. This is why you don't activate the trap card and unleash the furry fury. Plot twist. He actually brought the fucking gun. He brought it. Administration had been made aware of his impending normie holocaust, of course, and his personal Columbine was cut short literally just past the doors of the school. He was summarily arrested, expelled, and probably told he was kind of an asshole. Not necessarily in that order. But this wasn't to be the end of the story. A furry doesn't just bring a fucking firearm to a public institution of learning with the intent to enact some radical bloodshed on you and your friends, without stimulating within you the baleful trumpets of the bigot's irascible disapprobation of the bête noire, thus triggering irrevocably the inception of Societal Cleansing Act 2, Electric Shooaloo. Basically, what I'm saying is, the entirety of the school went electric cherry apeshit and started the most harrowing anti-furry rumpus this side of the Westboro Baptist Church protesting Zootopia. Motherfuckers descended with impossible haste into a total brouhaha. Furries were getting denuded of their fuzzy-ass lanyards left and right. But this is where the story kicks into obscene Tempest hyperdrive, just in time to finish. There was one particular female furry who was utterly invested in the cause, to the extent she had terminated all relationships with anyone who wasn't also a furry. She had apparently harangued her poor, clueless mother into sewing a tail onto every single pair of her jeans she owned. Knowing furries, I can't imagine she owned that many different pair of jeans, but I digress. With this kind of dedication to the scene, one can only suppose that she was basically the alpha of the wolf pack. Wow, it turns out that even using their terminology makes me feel somehow dirty and less human. Who knew? Anyway, sensing a heretofore incalculably magnificent opportunity for japery, and taking advantage of the complete breakdown of order within the halls, some irksome rapscallion took it upon himself to rip the tail off the back of her jeans. But he didn't actually rip it off the back of her jeans. He pulled it through her jeans. He pulled it through the hole in the ass of her jeans. The hole that was apparently in all of her pairs of jeans. I'd like you to take a moment to sit back and imagine this young man's day. A mentally ill peer was just stymied in his attempt at taking your life. The resultant hullabaloo has completely exceeded the training and leadership abilities of the teachers to control it. You want to be a hero. You want to detail the alpha. And so, stealthily, tasting your impending canonization all the while, you approach from behind. You grab the flocculent appendage, and with a mighty pop, you yank it off. Wait, a pop? Oh, look at that. You're holding a butt plug with a tail on it. Who would have guessed that she'd been wearing a butt plug only, I don't know, every single day to the point where she had holes in her clothes specifically for it? It's my understanding that the face-rending hysteria which thereafter ensued prevented classes from getting anything done for a fair couple of days. TLDR. Some kids tormented a furry until he tried to go full-scale school shooting on their asses. Furries subsequently harassed. One of them had been wearing a butt plug tail to school every day. Fetishes shouldn't be in public. Don't go around with butt plugs, please. You are a teenager. Go to school, get an education, socialize. Please don't wear furry butt plugs in public. If you're a furry, go out there, have fun. Please don't flaunt your fetish in public. That's all we ask. That's gonna do it for today. And until next time, hope you feel inspired.